we have a strategic practice of benchmarking against the best in the business. And if we won gold in all of them, then we're the best. So one of them is going to be in information security or infosec. And Triangle is currently in the middle, while we're doing all this other stuff, of getting a CIS certification, which is an advanced level of certification that makes sure all our doors are locked and seams are taped and all that stuff. And the resiliency of the architecture, benchmarking against the best, achieving advanced certifications. I think that's how you show you're the best.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Triangle Real Estate Podcast. This is the end of 2023 slash kickoff of 2024 wrap up with our amazing leader, battle-scarred leader, Matt Fowler. How you doing, man?
I'm really great, Matt. How are you today, man?
Doing great, getting fired up to wrap up the year, and it's been an amazing year of effort and accomplishment at Triangle, and I can't wait to get your take on where we've been and where we're going.
Sure, thanks, Matt. So this is our kind of year-end wrap up. We just started the podcast this year, so I think that's the first thing we should talk about is comms. I just finished my second year at Triangle December 1st. So when I started, really, we were all of 2022 was my really first year. And we didn't have consumer facing or public facing communications at all. Triangle had really never spoken as an organization to the public. We were a B2B organization in terms of the just culture and marketing and communications in our company. And I think that's kind of common for MLSs. If you look at them across the country, you ask people what MLS is and they say Major League Soccer. What we're trying to do with communication, and one of our 5 strategic objectives for 2023 that we're going to talk about on our call today, was to improve public perception of Triangle's value. And wow, if you think about where we are today, like in the real estate space, organized real estate, improve the public perception of the MLS's value seems like a super important, even more important at the end of 23 than it was at the beginning. So we've started this communication platform where we talk about the donations that we make to the community fund, where we, actually make a donation to the community fund. That was new, and we talk about it. We gave $75,000 to Florida hurricane relief, which is kind of the first donation of that kind that we've made. So I think the MLS industry in general is stepping out from behind what might have been the curtain, where we only really talk to the brokers about what MLS does, to really trying to engage the general public and start telling them about the facts that the MLS as it exists in the United States is unique in the world. There's not another housing platform that exists like ours. They're trying to learn from us. And there was just an interesting conference over in Paris regarding the international MLS. There are some that are trying to form, but it's the rest of the world trying to emulate what we have already in the Triangle. Houses sell for substantially more when they're sold on the MLS than they do when they're sold by owner. Bright, just up the road from us in Atlantic Central Coast area, just published a study. You can find it at brightmls.com that said that up there it's like $80,000 more if it sells on the MLS. So that's a story it feels like we need to tell. And we're launching a new brand next year that we spent a lot of this year building to address that specific strategic goal or strategic objective for 23. So that's a big one. The podcasts are out there and really cool. And if you guys aren't watching them, Matt Fagioli, my old friend here, has been our host. We've got podcasts with Triangle RTP startups with national business leaders, with productivity coaches and executive coaches that can help your business do better. We've invested a lot in that. Our metrics just came in. We were in the top half of all podcasts, which is pretty amazing for our first year, I think. We were like the value of the MLS was the most downloaded podcast, which I think tracks exactly with our strategic goal to improve the public perception of Triangle's value. So that's pretty cool. Um, so let's bounce over to the other strategic goals that I want to talk about today, and we kind of slid into that one. Um, the other ones were improve stakeholder relations. By stakeholders, we mean the five realtor associations that make up the Triangle Regional. Make membership tasks easier, which we went a long way to doing that in August. We'll talk about that. To improve organizational agility and innovation, and to improve the data accuracy and completeness. So we started the year. We'll start with the one at the top of the list: improve data accuracy and completeness. We started the year by releasing the Rental Beast platform. We've got a podcast coming out with Ishay Grinberg about Rental Beast and what's worked and hasn't worked in our first year of that project. We also did a merger with Burlington Alamance MLS to increase the completeness of the data that we have in our system. The Longleaf Pine data share was up and running in 2023, further increasing the data completeness. Really, the big one that we did regarding data accuracy and completeness was really just accomplished in November 29th when we published a translated version of our database to the RISO standards. And the RISO standards are national standards, but that doesn't mean that we're building a national MLS. We're specifically not doing that. I actually think that's a terrible idea. I don't even like the idea of a statewide MLS, much less a national. I think these things are best managed locally, but with standardized data. So the same software products that you build to work in Charlotte can easily work in Raleigh without rewiring the whole thing. That makes it very expensive to publish a website, for example, that would include Raleigh, Charlotte, and maybe Fayetteville data. If your brokerage works in those three markets and it probably costs you like 10 grand a month to do the ETL to come up with a combined data feed from those three, that is just not necessary. We can just wave a wand and make that expense, 120 grand a year, go away by giving you a normalized standardized data set. That's why we're doing it.
I'd like to have you expand on that point a little bit, because there is lots of conversation amongst agents and brokers nationally and in the Triangle, I'm sure, about national MLS and why to do that and why not to do that. And you've already said that it's not only better done locally, but it just sort of has to be done locally. But the data portability and the eventual availability of all of the data to an individual agent or a broker for their clients is really interesting. Can you explain the nuance of that a little bit more?
Yeah, I think I got your question, Matt. I think what that means to just somebody walking down the aisle at the convention in Anaheim, right? And they see something cool that captures their attention that might differentiate themselves and their business from the other practitioners in the marketplace, maybe a new CRM or a new whatever it is, right? If you go into that booth and you talk to that guy, and the first thing they're going to say is, yeah, I'd love to sell this to you, where are you from? And in the past, when you said Triangle, the guy at the booth goes, wah, because you were not in his list. Because in order to have Triangle in the network for that product, they had to specially wire their system to the local terms and the shape of our data. And we're not in those drop down lists of available MLSs for you to work that product. And they're not going to say no to you, but they're going to say, it's going to take 6 weeks and there's a setup fee and or if you're in this list of MLSs that are compliant with the national standards, you can turn it on today and you get a half off discount, show discount, because the guy can just type two buttons and turn it on. Um, that's why we're doing the standards, is because it makes technology more accessible. It also, I think it's not too deep in the weeds to mention, Matt. I think it also um, uh, it foreshadows what's down the field a little bit for technology in real estate, and I think it's useful at a year end wrap up to talk about maybe like what would I like to be talking about a year from now. Now that we've launched this choice program, our data is now standardized. Um, I know of a broker in the Triangle area that is currently busy at building a walled garden for his agents, a closed system where they'll log into thisdudesname.com and nowhere else. When the agents need to put in a new buyer, they need a form, they need to add a listing. They have a new listing agreement. They do that inside the company platform with the CRM and everything built in. And you know that there are big brands like Compass and Zillow and EXP that are doing this at $100 million level. Okay. But there are also people out across the country doing this because the data has now become accessible in these standardized, normalized data systems. I'm trying not to say API because we're talking to the standard members, but that's what it is. It's this tool that the rest of the software industry uses to share data. We're doing that now too, like all the big markets are. And that gives you the ability to plug into it. So you can go out and buy or build software that that keeps your customer experience exactly the way you want it, right? And our job is to fuel that, not to say all 15,000 people are going to use Paragon or going to use anything. It's to build the infrastructure that's going to let people pick what they want to present to their customer, right? So increasing data accuracy and completeness has these follow on benefits like interoperability. So that was a huge one. It let us launch Choice November 29th, which, you know, was pretty rough. Anytime you do a data conversion, it's rough. This one was very complicated because we have the three platforms, and one of them, frankly, has a an inefficient um, way that they transport data back and forth. There's an old way to do it and a new way to do it. And one of our primary vendors that operates the Paragon system is still using the old one. Um, and I'm not throwing anybody under the bus. Honestly, don't think that's valuable. I don't think it does anything for anyone. But it is the reason that we specifically chose a different company to build the new listing management system that is working great. That is RESO standard and Data Dictionary 2.0 and a nice clean infrastructure foundation to build our future on. So it's a huge thing we did. Another one of our tasks last year was making member tasks easier. And the thing that we thought was the biggest hassle in just dealing with Triangle was the library of PDF forms, right? So I've I've come from a software development background. The idea of filling out a PDF form, you know, that's like still 8.5 by 11, because that's what shape paper used to be. Um, it's like still on the website. Like earlier this year, it was on the website anyway. And it took a long time to fill out that form, to send it in to us, for my team to then key that into to the billing system and everything. Yeah.
Probably
So
printed out along the way, right?
I faxed it back and forth to each other. I don't know. But so what we did is we just burned that down. We built a new system that I tested the other day. It takes less than 2 minutes to join as a Triangle member now, using just a next kind of, normal workflow that has no PDFs in it, anywhere in it. Um, and you can do it at 2 o'clock in the morning. And at the end of the process, because our systems are plugged together now, your accounts are automatically turned on. So it's called provisioning, and we can take your successful transaction from the billing system and When that closes, go over and write into the MLS system and say, hey, we have a new active user. Your experience is that you get an email, 2 minutes after this thing happens that says, welcome to Triangle. And it's got your MLS of choice login. It's got everything you need to do your membership. Where previously that took a lot of touching to do that. So that's making member tasks easier. And we're going to do a lot more of that on the dashboard this year. People don't always really love the dashboard. It's the thing that keeps you from getting in the Paragon faster. And I think of it as the lobby, the virtual lobby of the organization. Like we don't get together physically really anymore. But I need to talk to you about stuff. Like I need to tell you about things that are happening that you don't want to be surprised about. And if you come through the lobby, I have a fleeting opportunity to do that. So we're going to try to make that dashboard experience more interesting. It's got new statistics coming from Domus Analytics. It has a new set of content from me and my staff about what's going on with the various platforms. Flex MLS, Matrix, and Paragon all release new features all the time. And we used to only talk about the Paragon ones. Now we're going to be talking about all of them. And it may be that one of them kind of rings your bell and you're like, hey, that's really cool. I want to go try that. You have the ability to try all three platforms for free through the end of February right now. And after that, there's a trial period where you can sign up and say, I would like to try Flex and see what looking at the photo gallery by room type is like, which is a feature they just released last week. And that's kind of cool using the AI photo tagging that we've used for a long time. But now that's in the MLS interface. I don't think it's in Matrix or Paragon. And if that's just the thing that is really cool and you'd like to have that experience for your consumer, you don't have to wait until the whole enterprise moves all 15,000 people from Paragon to Flex one day in the future. You can actually just go do that yourself, which is pretty amazing.
Well, just to clarify, I don't think that what you just said is that was a hypothetical, right? I mean, the plan is to have choice forever, as far as I know, right?
Yeah, no, you can actually do that right now on the dashboard. The day we're recording this, that was available November 29th. For most people, there's some issues with the tiles not showing up for every user, but generally speaking, for most people, you can try Paragon, Flex, or Matrix today and through the end of February for free. And then after February, you can sign up for these systems to try. And if you want to, you can turn on all three. One comes with your kind of base membership, and then you can add additional ones, just like any software, if you wanted to.
And the foreseeable future is all three of those platforms and maybe more. Is that right?
Oh yeah, I talked to a fourth one. We're just having a conversation with those guys this morning. It's really the prettiest MLS platform I've ever seen. Like Paragon, Matrix, and Flex all kind of look like the software the Delta agent uses to check you in I mean, if you looked at this like function key, that looks like 1995 back there. Um, Paragon and Flex and Matrix weren't designed kind of to be pretty. They're professional terminals, right? They're designed to be fast and efficient. But there's a new MLS based in New York City called Perchwell that is just a modern take at the user experience. And I've been talking to those guys. They're interested in ingesting the data just like Paragon and Matrix do and being an alternative um, user experience for searching and prospecting and reporting those things. So yeah, you could expect more of those choices to come to the dashboard.
I, I,
Absolutely in 24.
I think that's a really interesting way to further explain all the work that Triangle has done this year to make that data so easily portable. Is that it increasingly now going forward would be just flipping us. Hey, we want to add this, we want to do that, we want to change this, but the data moves seamlessly. And so adding Perchwell would should it happen in the future would be an easy thing from here. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, I mean their RESO, like all of their data systems in the back end, um, are all lined up to that standard already. So um, there was a post on one of the tech forums I followed the other day. I can't remember who it was from now, but they were kind of bragging about bringing on a new platform, or excuse me, a new market. And I think they said it was like 7 minutes or something,
Wow.
right? Yeah. So this used to be 6 weeks, right, and cost $10,000, and um, that's what I used to charge for it. And now, I mean, it's you connect. I'm going to stop using metaphors, and just hope people understand what a spreadsheet is. Okay. So it's like most of the columns on a spreadsheet match when you pull in the new data, and like column A through the 250th column all line up. So when you open it, everything works, and you get an exception report for the ones at the end where the column names were different, and you have to figure out what they are. And it says, like pool type at the top. You're like, oh, I wonder what that is. Maybe it's pool type. And you have to manually find where that goes in your system. So it's like column A goes to column L, and that takes a minute. But because most of those fields are in the dictionary, so they're standardized and we can look them up. They match automatically. The local ones that don't match, there's not very many of them. So if you've done it a lot, you sit down, you match them the way they're supposed to go. You say go. It's called an ETL process. Off it goes and it runs, and it takes no time. So minutes was super fast, but day, if it's kind of muddy in there and the categories don't match, it shouldn't take longer than that to bring on new platforms like I won't name them all. There's a bunch of them. And some of our technology partners like CoreLogic and the others have separable products, right? So there are things like I won't get an example, but there are things that you can use from CoreLogic that don't require you to log in the matrix. And those products I think are interesting. And if it might be that you're a committed Paragon person, but you tried that thing from CoreLogic and that works for you for public records or for prospecting or something. Um, this is about going to a store that isn't run by the Soviets. Okay, like I got to go to Russia in '83 when I was in college, and you could go to the store to buy what you wanted, but they only have one thing. Like you go in and they have I don't know 10 salmon today, and that's all they have, just shelves and shelves of 10 salmon. And what we had before is you come in and we say, okay, you have a choice of MLS. You can have Paragon, Paragon, or Paragon. And if you don't like Paragon, well, that's a problem. We might switch in 2 years. And you know, because we've been on Paragon for so long, 9 years now, there are people that have come in and left the MLS, the real estate business in the Triangle, and have never used anything but Paragon. And they think Paragon is the MLS. And that's kind of a problem because it isn't. And, the MLS is a lot more than whatever the current version of Paragon looks like. It's actually the network that has the value, the fact that it exists at all, the critical mass of almost all the listings in the area come through this database, and that's why it's valuable. And that's what we really want to continue to invest in. One of our strategic objectives, one of the five, was to improve stakeholder relationship. So we're a collection of five associations, and it's really important that all five are heard. Their strategic plans match ours. Their financial objectives are complementary of each other. So we're owned by the Raleigh Regional Association of Realtors, but the four others are stakeholders, and we have marketing agreements with them that allow us to license their brands and their membership to promote MLS to them. So last year we donated $100,000 to the community foundation, and it's split pro rata between the five. So that's a specific way that we have invested in stakeholder relations by by investing in their own community projects. So those monies go straight through the associations and the 501c3s that they've selected at the local association level. We also had the big PropTech South conference in September of last year. That was a big part of improving the public's perception of Triangle's value, improving stakeholder relations, because we had a place for all of our associations there. They had tables at the event. And the proceeds from the event, which is $17,000 or $18,000, was distributed to the associations by the same formula. So I think Raleigh's about 80% of our membership, so they get 80% of that money, and we split the rest between OCHAR, JCAR, and Durham and Burlington Alamance. So we spend a lot of time on stakeholder relations. We also have the Stakeholder Advisory Council. By rule, it's supposed to meet 4 times a year. We have changed our project management plan to cut the year up into 8 cycles. Each cycle has 3 2-week sprints. And we have a Stakeholder Advisory Council meeting just prior to each of those cycles. So we show them new software that we're talking about using or rules changes that we might want to make. Currently, they're going through the new input form, and they're advising us on what fields we might want to make required, and what changes we might want to make now that we've published this new input form. The first time in almost 10 years that we've done that. So this is version 1, and we know that's going to evolve. So the right group to engage to make those calls is the most representative group that we have access to. And that's the Stakeholder Advisory Council. So it's 3 representatives from all 5 associations. So everybody's kind of equally represented. Raleigh has 3, and so does Burlington. So that's my kind of ear to the ground group. If you're watching this and you're interested in, in adding to or changing our strategic objectives for 2024, that's the group you want to talk to. Find your representative. There's 3 of them per association on that council. And the next thing that we're going to do regarding strategic planning is meet on January 18th, 2024, in Cary to refresh our vision, our mission, our objectives, and then talk about the tactics that we intend to deploy for 2024.
Awesome. Well, Matt, do you have some forward-looking comments and predictions or announcements for what's going to happen in the new year?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for me to look too far beyond first quarter because of a couple of things. First, we're 3 weeks to almost to the day out from our choice launch, and we're still significantly above average call volume on member services help desk. We need to get back to pre-launch call volume on the member services desk so that the issues that still exist on the network are resolved. I'm not exactly sure when this is going to play, but we have nothing to hide. I'm very transparent about what we're doing. We are trending down on the call center the day we're recording this, and the slope of that downward trend gives me confidence to say that we'll have reached pre-launch call volume by the end of the first week in January. So we're 3 weeks in. That's another 3 weeks where we're still going to have some turbulence. And I'd like to describe, and going into 24, what do I see going forward? In the first quarter, we're evaluating on a daily basis the 3 or 4 or 5 vendors that we have now consuming this new data, and looking at how well they do it. Honestly, the source of truth is the listing management platform that we just built. That is where the data is accurate, and then we distribute it from there, including to Paragon. And when Black Knight picks up the data from us to put into Paragon, they are doing it with a target of updating it every 8 minutes. So it's never older than 8 minutes. Right now, it's 30 minutes or more in some cases. So that's got to come down from from 30 and certainly not longer than 30. There are examples of where it's more than 30, and it needs to be 8 or less. And the other two primary platforms, Matrix and FBS, they're getting the data in a different way than Black Knight is consuming that data, getting it through the API, not the RET server. And the way it's structured, Black Knight and Paragon are going to be behind the other two in terms of getting updates out, having the data show up in those platforms quickly. So, because it depends on how you determine quickly, but they'll be quicker than Paragon, and we don't like that outcome at Triangle, and we're encouraging Black Knight to speed up that process, to re-engineer that process, if necessary, in order to reach parity with the other platforms, so that everybody is up to date and everybody's getting it out, hopefully real time. Let's get that 8 minutes down to 8 seconds. That's the objective, and I think we'll get to it in 23. But right now, in the first quarter, we're not really focused on really much else besides a rebranding a project that we have coming sometime in the first quarter when we get done with this project, and that making sure that Paragon is accurate and complete, and is as accurate and complete as the others. We always knew that keeping the data the same everywhere in a choice platform was going to be the hard part. Standards really make that doable at all. And I guess what I'd like to say on the day we're recording this is that some of the platforms are doing a lot better job at getting up to date than the others. And this is a more stark comparison of the three than I really expected right out of the gate. So we'll see what happens. It's our hope and our plan that all of our vendors will be accurate and complete and up to date all the time. There's going to be small differences between them, but large differences shouldn't occur. So that's what I'm focused on right now. For the rest of the year, we're going to be refreshing the dashboard, as I mentioned earlier. We're going to be adding additional choice options to the dashboard. 24, as my slide deck has shown all year, I show it to groups all the time. 24 is where we're looking for stability. We knew that 23 was all about change. 24 is about trying to get stable in our choice environment. 3 weeks into the project, I can see what the light looks like at the end. And we're absolutely doing the right strategy. It's again, pretty inside baseball, but if you're interested at all, out on the Triangle LinkedIn page where we post kind of industry stuff about what we're doing. We have comments from some of the CEOs of the largest MLSs in the country saying, wow, look what you just did. The COO of One Key said yesterday that, in their opinion, looking at the uncertainty in 2024, that Triangle was the best prepared MLS in the country for whatever is about to happen to us. Mm-hmm. That's pretty strong coming from one of the largest MLSs in the country.
Yeah, and without going too deep into those weeds, we haven't talked so far on this call much about the potentially sea change level changes coming to the industry, and that will affect MLS and everything like that. But once again, all the work that Triangle's already done, makes it incredibly seaworthy, to mix metaphors.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the MLS provider outage that occurred this year, I was an MLS vendor for 20 years, and that was always the thing that would just keep you up at night. What if the data center went down or was attacked, or ours got hit by a tornado one time. We stayed up, but one of the MLS providers, Rapatoni, was down for, was it like 6 weeks or something? Mm-hmm. Where they were just like, whatever market used them for billing or for MLS search, that you just got a 404 error when you went to their site. They had a ransomware attack. And right now at Triangle, if any of the 3 MLS platforms was down, we're down, you could just switch to the other one. So we have a resiliency that we just simply didn't have before. We're still dialing it in, as I said, but um, we didn't have to start from scratch, which would take forever to get another one up. I mean, the cities that were down, Bakersfield, California, some big places, uh, just keyed in their data in the MLS guy next door that wasn't down and just moved everything over there for a minute, like by hand manually. It was terrible. And the architecture that we've built materially protects us from that. We also, when we're talking about infosec, we have a strategic practice of benchmarking against the best in the business because we intend to be the best MLS in the country. We don't know what that means exactly. There's not an MLS Olympics still. I'm just trying to think about doing that. But if we were going to go to an MLS Olympics, what would the events be? And if we won gold in all of them, then we're the best. So one of them is going to be in information security or infosec. And Triangle is currently in the middle while we're doing all this other stuff of getting a CIS certification, which is an advanced level of certification that makes sure all our doors are locked and seams are taped and all that stuff. That's a level of effort that is part of being the best in the country, and the resiliency of the architecture, um, benchmarking against the best, achieving advanced certifications. I think that's how you show you're the best, and um, we're on our way there.
Well, it's been a huge year of effort and accomplishment. I can't wait to see what's coming in 2024 for Triangle MLS. And Matt, is there anything else that you want members to hear about as we go into the new year?
I think I will close on something, Matt. Another one of our strategic objectives was to improve organizational agility and innovation. And that's a word vomit. What we mean by that, like that phrase is the result of a whole bunch of stickies that were up on the wall that we kind of grouped together under agility and innovation. And what's written on the stickies underneath that is about the staff. Okay, so Triangles is operating in a different way because I was a software CEO for 20 years and I'm bringing that skill set to what we do. We're trying to behave like a software company or an information, certainly a technology company. And to do that, I have to have a crack team. Okay. And these people need to be very skilled at some very detailed work. And they're not developers, they're product owners and project managers. Plus, we have a bunch of business analysts that support the product owners and the project managers. So the discipline that we use is agile. And it means that we have an engineering level understanding of the backlog and the roadmap and what we're doing and how it aligns with the strategic plan, and that every single person in the staff, we have 27 people, 28 people on the team right now. It's a big team, and they have to be the right people in the right seat doing the right thing every day for us to achieve the best in the country status. And that means investing in them. And I want our subscribers to know that that's really my primary role. I'm chief coach, as I see myself, trying to bring people up to optimal performance. It's all about people, and my team is absolutely amazing. We went virtual this year. April 6th was our last day in Cary on site in the office, and it's been amazing. My team told me experiences like they were present when their wife had a heart attack, so they were able to call the ambulance and she lived because they were home. Okay. Another employee is a aspiring musician, and she moved to Baltimore to be on the help desk during her allotted time there. And when she's not, she's working on her career and living near her sister. Um, I've got a guy who works for me with 14 years experience in MLS product ownership who lives in Copenhagen, Denmark. Um, Instead of hiring somebody off the street, for $20 an hour to be on our help desk, I knew of a guy that lived in Iowa City who has 20 years experience with centralized showing service with Black Knight, And plus, he's a fantastic guy who I get to hire, and he lives in Iowa City. I don't care if he lives in North Carolina. He lives on Zoom, is where he lives, and he helps my people in a way that no one else could off the street like that. I mean, Bernie is a great guy. He's an artist and just a caring guy in the first place. And to have him on the team as a leader is we're doing that because we were able to go virtual. Another leader on the help desk lives in El Paso. Um, so we're spread out 6 states and 2 countries, I think, and they get 95s or something all the time. And it's because we're investing in them. They're going to the industry meetings. They're getting professional development. You have to be continually learning to be a professional. Realtors understand that, and our staff is doing that as well. That's probably what I want to close on. My team is just amazing.
Oh, awesome, Matt. Well, yeah, the team, I can attest to that. The team is incredible. It's been a wonderful year. And guys, if you're hearing this, you'll be hearing it in the very beginning of 2024. And we can't wait to see what's next. So keep tuning in to the Triangle Real Estate podcast to hear all the updates. And Matt, we'll see you back here again real soon.
Thanks, Matt. Happy holidays, man.